Imagine that you are a sociologist doing research and you're investigating educational underachievement in school. And you have this hypothesis that you want to test, that children that are living in poverty, that is, those that are materially deprived, do worse than those who aren't. So how would you go about it? This podcast will explore some of the issues faced when researching material deprivation to help answer the method and context question on paper 1 of the AQA exam. This question requires you to combine the characteristics of an issue, in this case material deprivation, and a method, and the strengths and weaknesses of that method. Your answers will be marked using 3 levels. Level 1, can you give the characteristics or the issue or the strengths and weaknesses of the method? Then you must include level 2, which is the application to the context of school. And you must also then include, to gain the top marks, level 3, which is the consideration of the issue in the question. And in this case, it will be material deprivation and underachievement. So material deprivation, so what is it? Well, material deprivation refers to poverty and the lack of material necessities such as adequate housing and income. Now this in itself is problematic when it comes to being research. For example, firstly, how do you measure it? What constitutes as being materially deprived? And what is meant by failure? Failure, for example, is quite relative. It depends whether you see gaining a C grade as being a failure or an E grade as being a failure. Okay, so research in material deprivation does bring about a range of research issues. For example, practically, if you think about the characteristics of the researcher, most researchers would be middle class, and they'll be researching a predominantly working class issue, which is material deprivation. So on the part of the people being researched, there may be embarrassment about being materially deprived or living in poverty, hostility, especially if they feel like they're being blamed for their child's failure. And ethically, when you come to ask students if they feel like they're living in a poor house or how much their parents earned, they're going to feel quite embarrassed because children are a vulnerable group and something like material deprivation and poverty is quite a sensitive topic. And if you are asking students how much their parents earn or whether they feel like they're deprived, they might just simply not know. Further practical issues could be getting access to the research group that you want to research. So for example, if you wanted to access a school, the head teacher or the gatekeeper, it might make the school look bad, so they might refuse. Likewise, it could be welcomed if it suits takes the blame away from the school. And some groups might be problem to get access, such as the working class, because low-income parents might find it hard to participate in research, especially if they work long hours or unsociable shifts, or find it hard to get travel to where the research is taking place. And some low-income parents might feel they're being blamed for the child's failure. So there's some of the research characteristics of studying material deprivation. Now this, on its own, is not going to score you very high in the exam, because you must also consider the method. So let's consider whether the question is asking this. It could ask, what are the strengths and limitations of official statistics when investigating material deprivation and underachievement? So, as well as some of the issues regarding material deprivation, like I discussed in the last section of the podcast, you also need to cover some of the practical, ethical, theoretical issues of official statistics. Okay, so for example, practically, they are free, they're quick to access, You don't need any real special characteristics. You might need basic maths or math skills to interpret what the statistics are saying. And official statistics, because they're collected by the government, are often large scale. So they often become representative. The problem is that they're collected for government purposes and not for what the sociologists might ask for. Ethically, there's no real issues of official statistics. You don't need to ask specifically for consent, even though you might want to remember that when official statistics are collated, people haven't given consent for any further use by sociologists, for example. And there's no infringement of any confidentiality issues. Theoretically, they are reliable, which means repeatability. And this is the main goal of positivists who want research to be scientific. On the other hand, official statistics often lack validity. You don't get the background or the reasons why you see the patterns that appear in official statistics. So on that hand, they're not favoured by interpretivists. Now the thing is, with these practical, ethical, theoretical issues of official statistics, on their own, in your answer, they would only score a maximum of 11 marks. So you need to put the official statistics and the strengths and weaknesses, as well as the methodological issues that you considered in the first part of the podcast, to start to move up the mark scheme. So let's get into the real context of the issue then. So official statistics on material deprivation. Well, it's quite problematic really, because the government only collects official statistics on free school meals, and that's the only indicator of whether a student is deprived or not. So that in itself is problematic. So making a statement like that would probably get you a level 2. Now, the reason why it doesn't get you level 3, even though you have linked a problem of official statistics and you've linked it into material deprivation, the free school meals, often the examiner wants you to show the consequence on achievement as well. Okay, so let's explore another strength and let's see if we can get it to level 3. So another strength is we can take the free school meals as an indicator of material deprivation, which is a use of official statistics. And the strength is that we can correlate them with GCSE results. And we can quite confidently say that the increase of the chance of a student having free school meals will reduce the likelihood of gaining 5A star to C. So we can use official statistics to show a correlation and confidently say free school meals indicates of lack of adequate funding, which means that they are materially deprived, which then leads to lower GCSE results, which is an indicator of underachievement. So this is a perfect example of linking the strength of official statistics, e.g. that you can correlate them, to the issue of material deprivation, for example free school meals, and the impact on achievement is that this correlation leads to underachievement. Now that would lead you to score a level 3, which then starts to put you further up the mark scheme. A second strength of using official statistics is that they are often collected nationally, as it is the government that are collecting them. So in the case of material deprivation, you have got these statistics of free school meals collected on a large scale. So you are linking the method to the context, and that means that they are representative. And then you could further link into a problem of this is that up to 20% of students entitled to a free school meal often don't take them up. Now this will undermine any research, and it'll also undermine the correlation that you've just talked about, that free school meals is correlated with GCSE results, so we cannot confidently say whether free school meal uptake and achievement levels, e.g. from GCSE results, is as accurate. So then we're starting to question the validity of using statistics. For example, interpretivists would argue that official statistics lack the validity or truth of what is being studied. For example, official statistics are secondary data. They don't tell the sociologist about the interaction processes in school that might lead to students not claiming free school meals, or the interaction processes within school or any other factors that might lead to any other underachievement of any social class. And although free school meals are used as an indicator, not all those who are entitled to them are working class or are materially deprived. Some lower middle class pupils from a large family might qualify for them. And not all working class children are entitled to free school meals. Only those from a relatively poor background will qualify. In summary, in answering the method in context 20-mark exam question off paper 1, you will need to be able to give strengths and weaknesses of a method, talk about the context of school, and then link it to the issue that's in the question and whether that issue might lead to achievement or underachievement. Matching all those three things, getting the balance right, would lead you to a very successful answer. Thank you for listening. This podcast was based on the Webb AQA A-Level Sociology Book 1 by the Napier Press, and a little bit of my own knowledge as an examiner to help you. Okay, thank you for listening.